What does it take to go from being a newbie freelancer on Upwork to earning over $2 million on the platform? Well, today's guest is going to tell you how. Courtney Allen is a PowerPoint wizard who has earned over $2 million on Upwork by focusing on being the best at creating compelling PowerPoint presentations. Why PowerPoint? Because Courtney did her research and found that there are 32 million PowerPoint presentations created every day, and she wanted to get a piece of that market. Her journey was not easy, but through discipline, focus, and skill, she grew her reputation and became one of the top 1% freelancers on Upwork. In this extended interview, we discuss the key factors to her success so that you can replicate her journey. And one more thing, make sure you listen to the very end, where Courtney shares some breaking news about a new PowerPoint template platform that she's created called 𝗦𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗥𝗏. You are going to love this interview, so let's get started. Courtney, thank you so much for joining us today. Where are you located, by the way?
Yeah, so currently I am over here in beautiful Mallorca, Spain. My mom just moved here about 4 months ago. So yeah, spending the holidays with her.
And if you don't know, Courtney is from Atlanta originally, but then you went to Seoul for something as well?
I did, yeah. To be honest, I've been secretly just following my mom around the world. So she actually lived in Seoul before she came to Spain for 3 years, working at an international school. So yeah, decided to make my way over to Seoul a couple years ago. And yeah, I absolutely love it.
So you basically are living the true freelancer lifestyle, which is working anywhere in the world, right?
Absolutely. As long as there's good Wi-Fi, then I'm all set.
Well, I think what you have done on Upwork is so impressive. I mean, to be fair, there are not many freelancers that have achieved over 2 million in earnings on the platform. So we're going to get into a lot of details about how you did that and hopefully help other freelancers replicate your success. But let's start with your history on Upwork. You came from Microsoft. I believe you worked at Microsoft for a while. Talk about how you came to the platform.
Yeah, so how I came on the platform, interesting story. So I actually started first on Elance around 2013, and then I was working, for Cisco Systems at the time, but Microsoft is in the story. I worked for Cisco Systems as a dedicated presentation designer, and then decided after a couple of years to branch off and sort of do my own thing. And so I started a travel company actually, and realized that I did not know what I was doing. So I turned back to what was now Upwork towards the end of 2015, and decided to dive into the world of freelancing. And it's been certainly an extraordinary ride since then.
Yeah. And what really struck me about your profile in particular, and the reason I mentioned Microsoft, because you are certified, Microsoft certified, correct?
I am, yeah. Actually, me and my entire team at the agency is.
Gotcha. So you really became certified in a very specific skill set. And I want to talk a little bit more about that because I think a lot of people, when they first get on Upwork, they're trying to do anything and everything that kind of relates to some skill or experience that they have. I think you took a different approach. So can we talk a little bit more about that approach that you took with Upwork?
Definitely. To be honest, I was really following my sort of passion, which back in college, I decided, yes, I wanted to major in graphic design, but specifically, I fell in love with creating presentations. And so, like I mentioned, out of college, I worked as a presentation designer. And so, when I decided to join Upwork, I really wanted to continue to kind of hone into that niche and sort of plant myself as an expert in the space. Back in that time, there weren't too many presentation designers. And so, I thought that I could gain sort of more credibility and expertise by, positioning myself as being hyper specialized in that one subject matter.
And so it's interesting because it was really just presentation. Yeah, I mean, you started with PowerPoint. I believe you do Keynote as well today, but it really was like, if you need a PowerPoint presentation, I'm the person that you want to talk to, whether you're a startup, I assume, or whether you're presenting to a corporate boardroom, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think, so what did you have to do to really be able to stay hyper focused? Because when you're starting out, I can imagine that you're looking at some things, you're like, it maybe kind of fits. I don't know. How did you maintain that discipline throughout your process on Upwork?
Yeah, it was difficult at the beginning, of course, because creating or getting those first few projects on Upwork is sort of how you can establish your reputation and things like that. And so while it was tempting to want to reach out to and apply for generalist graphic design work, I knew that to create my reputation as an expert as in PowerPoint or presentation design, I knew I needed to start with those projects specifically in that field as sort of the baseline. So yeah, I held strong. It took a couple of months before I got my first project doing a PowerPoint. And yeah, I got very fortunate that my second client on Upwork ended up being contracting doing Adobe decks. And so, yeah, I was able to work with them over the course of the next 2 years. And that really helped, yeah, solidify kind of my reputation or expertise on the platform.
Wow, that's impressive, and I think it really just goes to a testament that if you stick with your principles and stick with your niche, you will find that work. It won't necessarily come overnight per se, but if you stay with it, you will be building essentially a flywheel, because you do one, then you do another, and then all of a sudden when someone looks at your profile, it's obviously clear that you know how to do PowerPoint and know how to make presentations that have impact for your clients.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is over time, even looking at other presentation designers in the space, they've even specialized further. I know someone who only works with uh, dentist offices, or one that only works with entertainment, but they still solely do presentation design. And yeah, they've all created great careers for themselves. And so I'm a big fan of, yeah, kind of dialing in. And over the years, that's what I've been slowly refining as well.
Did you find that you started charging more as you got more reputation on the platform? In other words, you start low and started moving up. I think according to your profile, you're at 125 an hour. Or did you say, no, I'm just going to set a high price and pay my price?
Yeah, I absolutely did the slow ascent over the past 7 to 8 years. And so, yeah, when I first started, it was 27 an hour. And to be honest, I was stoked when I got my first job, because that was, still a higher hourly rate than I had received in my corporate job. And so, yeah, as of course the reputation and as the demand increased, then yeah, I was able to increase up to 125.
So basically, by hyper focusing, excuse me, by sitting there and taking the small jobs first, building and continuing to increase your rate as your experience on the platform. I mean, you just basically took the slow and steady rate of becoming basically an expert. I mean, there was no magic formula per se, other than just showing up, doing the work, and slowly building that credibility and charging accordingly, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I actually watched one of your last videos on the channel. And yeah, he had talked about consistency as well. And that is always the main thing I talk about. It really resonates that, yeah, just having that perseverance and keeping consistent with the quality of your work, with the way you approach applying for jobs and client communication, all of those things, yeah, has been such a big factor to my success.
But you do have a secret sauce, though. We talked about this before. There is a secret, though, to the Courtney Allen. Yeah, that's right, everybody. So what is that secret? I won't share it.
So the secret is, as a lead-in, in the 𝗧𝗪𝗠𝗠𝗔𝗪𝗦 in high school, we were all given that sort of test where it was testing your personality and things like that to determine what would be the best job for you based off of your temperament and skill set and things like that. And the one that came up number one for me was hostage negotiator. And so I have been able to take that. It's mostly based off of people say I'm calm and tactful and thoughtful with my words. And so, yeah, I've been able to take that into client communication and, my ability to communicate with clients, from beginning to end, whether in high points or also in potential conflict, has been my secret sauce.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I'm starting to notice a pattern with top performing freelancers, the ones that are most comfortable getting on a call with a client, being one of the deciding factors, being, even if you're not a salesperson, because I'm going to, don't take this wrong way. You're not the prototypical salesperson. I mean, I could be, right? Hey, buy this car. But you don't seem like a salesperson, but it's not really about selling per se. It's about listening and effectively communicating, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest, I may not seem it now, but I am a pretty quiet and reserved person. But I knew that getting on calls was essential. Unfortunately, I did train as a project manager when I was working at Cisco Systems. So I became more comfortable with the process of having intro calls and kickoff calls with clients. And that helps with everything from initial screenings to be able to, like you said, listen and ask the right questions to make sure that, I produce a high quality and product that is in line with their expectations.
Absolutely. And I would think that a lot of this success is also based on repeat business. I mean, in your particular case, and we talked about this a little before this call, was about these talent clouds, because I had not really understood them. And when I saw your profile, there were tons of them. But you do work with a lot of enterprises. So I would expect that you would come back and get repeat business. If I need a presentation for XYZ meeting, I will come to you again. So basically, how much of your work now is kind of repeat versus new business prospecting?
Yeah, so that has been a part of my strategy. And so right now, the percentage of long-term and repeat clients is at 70%. And so, what I did was over the past few years, maybe in 2019, I think I was taking on literally 365 clients a year. So one for every day. And so, keeping in your mind all of those different branding guidelines and client styles and communication and things like that. It got to be a bit overwhelming. And so what I wanted to do was sort of distill down and really work with, just kind of building long-term relationships and having repeat clients, that I could establish kind of a flow with. And I think my longest term client I've been working with for 10 years now, before even getting on Upwork. But as far as on Upwork, I think the longest has been since, right at 2016.
Yeah, I think this is an aspect that we often don't talk about in freelancing, is really targeting the enterprise clients that are available on Upwork. And they do put public jobs out there. So the talent cloud kind of has this private network of jobs, but many of the enterprise clients will also post in the public marketplace. And you can find those jobs by literally including in your query enterprise client, right? And so sometimes you can find them because once you're invited into those networks, there are other opportunities. But there was something that was surprising you shared before with me, that talent clouds aren't necessarily always, the end all be all, right? You're still out there, right?
I am, yeah, every day still looking through the job listings to see what's out there, things like that. The one thing I will mention that has been valuable is um, increasing the reputation to the point of being expert vetted. And with that, you do get partnered with an account manager who will sometimes kind of they chat with you and get an idea of the types of projects you're looking for and what the ideal client will be. And they often will invite me specifically to enterprise projects. And so, yeah, that's been super helpful. But it is still cool it does help the street cred to have the talent clouds for sure. And yeah, final note to bring it back to Microsoft, sort of how I got my big break on Upwork would be that, yeah, I answered a job invite on Upwork in 2018, and it turned out to be for Microsoft to work as an art director to help oversee some of the new templates for Microsoft Office. And so, yeah, what was supposed to be a 10-week contract ended up extending to 2 years, and they flew me out to their campus over in Redmond, and yeah, it was an amazing experience, and
Wow.
definitely incredibly grateful to Upwork, yeah, for that opportunity.
That is just incredible. And it's just, again, showing up, doing the work, being a professional, communicating with clients, providing quality along the way, and then getting repeat business. I mean, this is what I find most inspiring about you, Courtney, is that there was no like hack that you did. You just followed the system and you did the work. And then to become expert vetted, which is by invitation only. So, I mean, it's not something for everyone. But once you do, there are further opportunities. So you really are a model and showcase for just do the work and do it properly and thrill your clients, and the benefits will be there. But let's go back to another aspect, which is you still send out proposals. Okay. So
Yes.
you said you're checking every day. And, I really want to know, what does a Courtney Allen proposal look like? how does 16 by 9 design, which is your agency that you have, how do you approach the proposal process?
Yeah, so it has definitely evolved over the years. But, if I were to tell you another secret sauce, I have actually been using the same framework for my portfolio since the beginning, since 2015. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And so, what I do outside of the cover letter, of course, which I do have some pre-populated answers, but I always make sure to add customizations that are applicable to the job posting. So, yeah, even if it's something quirky, like they mentioned they're seeking a PowerPoint wizard, I'm like, I'm here ready to make magic, even just personal quips like that, and try to include their name if I see it. Besides that, in my portfolio, what I try to showcase is a variety of different styles and also some personal elements. I talk about how I used to live in Thailand and worked for a private investigator. And people remember that and ask me about it. And I talk a little bit, show client logos, talk a little bit more about my experience. And so, yeah, having kind of something that is not only shows the breadth of work I do and my team does, but also gives a little humanity, a little personality, I think really can help you stand out, yeah, in the crowd of 50 plus proposals or candidates per job.
So let me ask you, obviously your profile has your portfolio work on there. What about attachments? Are you adding a portfolio as an attachment to your cover letter as well?
I do, yeah. So I have two, whether it is my agent on the agency profile, I have a team capabilities deck, or if on my personal profile, I have a personal portfolio. And yeah, I attach those as PDFs and keep them updated, year after year, but still maintaining the same general flow. And Yeah, besides that, the other things I might attach is if in the job posting, for example, they say they're looking for two pagers or they are in the healthcare industry, I'll try to also add one or two additional examples that are specific to the type of work they're looking for, just so that they can see, yes, I have experience in that field or with those type of projects.
So, one of the things we talked about earlier was the importance of communicating, especially in the beginning, where you're trying to get the work, asking them to get on a call with you on Upwork. Let's do a Zoom call. But I think there's other aspects of the client communication process as well, right? Because, sometimes a client may not be a fit, or you may not be able to meet their demands or their objectives based on their budgets. So let's talk a little bit about the screening process that you use. How do you make sure that you're bringing in the right clients? Because now your reputation is so high, but early on, every single new client, that was a potential risk if you didn't have the right client to work with.
Exactly. And even now, yeah, every review counts, every client experience matters. And so, yeah, I try to be really careful and cognizant of, working with new clients and the type of people we should work with. And so there are some red flags that I have identified over the years. It starts from looking at their profile themselves. What type of reviews have they received from other freelancers? You can kind of get better sense of their budget just based off of what their previous job experiences have been and what the average hourly rate is. Is it aligned with sort of our pricing? And then, yeah, the further screening comes in the intro call and initial messages, seeing especially, have they been dissatisfied with other freelancers? If so, how have they talked about it? Some of those things can give really clear and good indicators on if they're going to be a client that will be a right fit for me or not.
In your proposals, do you put a call to action for people to contact you on Upwork? Is that a part of your proposals you send?
So yeah, I always put a call to action as far as reaching out if you have any other questions. And yeah, I do encourage people to schedule some time with me to have that intro call. And to be honest, one thing I'd like to even incorporate in the future is having some more kind of initial prep questions or onboarding for potential clients, just so I can even be more informed before heading on a call with them.
So obviously you have done tremendously well on Upwork, but you also have an agency, 16:9 Design. And I assume that did you start with an agency on Upwork, or was it kind of you and then you morphed into an agency? How does that agency model work for you? Because you do have the agency on Upwork, you do have your personal profile. How does that work as far as when people are looking for your services? How does the agency involvement go?
Yeah, so that was, and I can talk about that in a whole other segment. That was quite a transition because as more and more work came in, obviously it wasn't something that I could just do by myself. And while you can subcontract on Upwork with flat rate fees and letting them know things like that, it got to a point where it was time to bring in other more visible team members, other project managers, people who can, and designers who could come in and also be able to communicate with clients and things like that. And so, yeah, what ended up happening was I think right around 2021 is when we started the transition. And yeah, it was a bit tough to start, to be honest. When you start as an agency profile, the good news is that my profile's connected to it, but none of the reputation, none of the experience or earnings are necessarily directly connected to that profile. So yeah, it was more, again, kind of trying to build that up. And getting my project manager and designers on the agency page, and beginning the process through trial and error of how to apply for jobs through the agency, how to have the project managers initiate conversations with clients. And so, it's been definitely an interesting experience, but I've really enjoyed kind of transitioning over to an agency, and everyone's able to see what an amazing team, dream team that's behind me, and it's really worked out.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I will make sure to tell everyone to go and take a look at 16:9 when you need any presentation, be it PowerPoint or Keynote. I want to end with this, though, because I have done a lot of presentations in my time. Obviously, I grew up in Microsoft, so PowerPoint, I still love PowerPoint, like it better than Keynote between you and me. But is there any type of presentation that you really that has become kind of your hallmark, your signature piece? Is it working with startups on their pitch deck? Is it working in the corporate environment where you're presenting to a board, or maybe just something for a big giant audience where that tens of thousands of people are going to be looking at this screen?
Yeah, so I will say of the different types of presentations, there are two. Is it okay if I cheat and have two answers?
Sure.
There are two different sort of types of decks that I think are our specialty. One is template creation. And so piggybacking off of the experience that I had and my project manager had from working with Microsoft. We have been fortunate to work with other enterprise companies to build out their templates, as well as startups and other agencies. And so with the certification, that sort of experience, it's really fun to be able to create something that, hopefully is useful and saves time for tons of people. But then the other thing that we've been leaning more towards is doing events and conferences. And so, we, for a different enterprise client, actually Cisco, to bring it back full circle, we were able to design, I believe it was around 45 decks for them in 5 weeks. And so, that was its own challenge, but I really kind of enjoy being able to make sure all of those decks remain consistent, being able to do the project management aspect of all of those different account managers, but still make them each have some unique elements. So both are completely different fields, but they're my favorite types of things to work on.
Well, awesome. Well, I hope everyone who watches this that needs a presentation deck, the person to go to. Absolutely. And I love the point about templates, because I will tell you oftentimes with PowerPoint, you get these beautiful decks, but then you're going to want to change them, and having a solid template that makes that easy is so much better than trying to replicate everything from scratch. So.
Yeah, of course. And if you don't mind me making a shameless plug, speaking of templates, we're actually about to launch our teaser site possibly tomorrow, maybe next week latest, where we're actually, it's called What the Deck. So WTD, basically design.com. And we're going to be focusing on template subscription, particularly for startups and education, things like that, where people are able to download decks that are optimized for to be able to customize and just be easy and simple to use, not have hundreds of layouts, just really have the core types of layouts and content that you need. So that is
whatthedeck.com.
Whatthedeckdesign.com. Unfortunately,
What the Deck Design. Okay, let me make sure I get that right. Whatthedeckdesign.com.
That's it.
Well, I will absolutely make sure to include that in the show notes. So if you're on YouTube, look below. You'll see the link there to 𝗦𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean, for having me. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for watching the video. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel here. More importantly, if you found it useful, please share it with your friends. And one more thing, if you're looking for some great tools to help you succeed on Upwork, go check out 𝗬𝗪𝗧𝗏.ai. We think you'll like it.